Good afternoon, or good evening. I'd like to call the board to order the June 16th, 2025 meeting of the City of Glens Falls Zoning Board of Appeals. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the April 21st, 2025 meeting. A motion? Makes the motion. On the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay. Is this better? Okay. All right. We have a pretty big agenda tonight, and we do have public comment. So that's moving. Our first order of business. Our first item agenda is on the agenda is area variance 25-003. Brett Walters, representing owner of tax snap number 303-18-8-1, commonly known as 21 Rogers Street. The applicant is seeking a variance for a front yard setback relief from 35 feet from the 50-foot minimum requirement to install the chemical storage. The applicant is also seeking an area variance for relief from the maximum lot coverage threshold of 50%. So this is two variances requested here. We were notified earlier today that the applicant has requested to table this request for now. So the board will not be making a decision tonight. But we do have public comment here, which after any discussion from the board, we will invite. Does the board have anything you'd like to discuss about this project? Even though we won't be making a decision tonight.
I just had a couple of questions. I guess if you could ask me, I was just wondering, what the need for this is. If for the business, it would help to understand. And the other thing is, like, they did submit something about sort of what the, I guess, the storage was, whatever. But I'd really like to better understand like the safety issues. What exactly they're putting in, because I'm not an engineer, so it'd be great to really better understand what they're doing. Thanks.
Safety issues.
Like a general statement from them, a general overarching explanation.
Yeah, and also I think, because it is, the materials we're talking about, it's like a hazardous substance. Just trying to sort of understand, like, what are the safety, what are they doing to keep it safe, things like that.
Have you had any conversations, Devin, with the applicant in regards to the case?
Devin Roselle, zoning and planning coordinator. Yes, actually what has happened with this applicant is once my review of their application met the standard I needed, the fire code review became much more rigorous, and they are currently working for a compliant fire code and safety path. So they've been working with the fire department and our department hand in hand, trying to figure out how they can make this code compliant and safe.
Are you saying as it's drawn right now, it's not compliant?
It would be compliant if it had I think it's 48-hour firewall or a 4-hour firewall. Sorry, and now I believe we are going to move the setback further back based on the most recent proposal that I've heard to meet the fire code standard for that, so they will not need to put up the 4-hour wall.
Okay.
So was it set back within where you donated variance?
Unfortunately, it is not.
So they're meeting the fire code with the setback, or by putting it back, they will not have to be providing a 4-hour wall, and therefore they'll still need a variance from a zoning perspective, but not, right? They're meeting one criteria.
That is correct.
Well, before the next meeting, the fire department issued a report for the board to review.
Yes, fire prevention officer Aaron Worth is already.
Is that
Aaron Worth, he's already working on that for me as well. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Yeah. Forward to that report. At this time, I'd like to invite any public who are here tonight to please speak. If you will, please state your name and address for the record. Good evening.
My name is Audrey Sharon. I live at 12 Catherine Street. been there for 20 years now. My concern with these chemicals is that they're right. My concern is with the chemicals that are going into our neighborhood. We already have surrounding industry, and if they're set further back, are they going to be more into our community? What kind of chemicals are we talking about? The air quality right now is not good. It hasn't been. I have a question about the EPA and the air quality of the soil. We cannot open our windows on Catherine Street, Rogers Street, Platt Street, Haskell, all surrounding streets. And this is what I get every 4 days. And it's black and it's there's a lot of traffic coming with all of these expansions. So my concern is for my health and our neighborhood's health. Right now, it's not good. I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Plant. I live on Catherine Street. Can you hear me back there? Hello, hello. I'm gonna be a big mouth. I witnessed the March 2011 explosion at Ames Goldsmith. Did anybody here on this panel hear about that?
Nope.
You know about that? Well, I'm going to let you know before I get talking. I have copies from 2011 right up to 2019 of this company. All right. We live, I don't know how many of you have been in this city long enough that you understand what is going on in the first ward. The first ward is the last ward now. The lower first ward is a dirty little secret of Glens Falls. Not only do we have Ames Goldsmith, who have tried to develop more on their property with explosions and fires, et cetera, et cetera. We have Cohen and Kelman still. So we have a 4-block area of Catherine, Platt, Gear, and Rogers Street, just like that, with roughly 1,000 people living there. And we cannot have any more expansion of these chemical and of this plant, okay? It's 100 years old, that area, and it was fine with the good old boys and things starting back in the late 1900s and all, that's fine. But it's about time that every one of you on the board look into what you're doing and what you're okaying, because you are all in charge of our lives. Okay? The only reason that Ames Goldsmith is pressing on this, obviously, they want more money and whatever. I'm not going to go off on a tangent on this, but you need to look into this company between Ames Goldsmith and, I know we're not on that subject tonight, but their neighbor, Cohen/Kelman Scrapyard, all right? We have an explosive area. Between the two of them, there have been a half dozen fires. Luckily, nobody got hurt, but it scares the living crap out of you when you look out your window and you see black smoke. Is it going to blow up? What's going to happen? All right? Now, I'm going to pass these out. You bring them back and you look them over. I'm sorry, I only have five sets, but you can all make copies. All right? And this has to stop. All right? The first, it took over 50 years to get South Street out of the track. All right? Over 50. Somebody's sitting there. I'm going to talk about it. That's all right. It took over 50 years to get South Street on the right track. We're going on 100 with the lower first ward. And it's about time we stop adding to the wants of these people and get rid of them or turn down their requests, because our lives are in danger. Anyway, I'm not going to take a long time on this because what I'm going to read is what you all have, and you can read it in detail. March 30th, 2011, I was laying on my couch watching television after eye surgery. That's not in here. And an explosion. This was Ames Gold's home shake and plant blast. That was Ames Goldsmith that blew up, and they blew up the wall right over into Cohen's. Luckily, with concrete blocks blowing and hit. Luckily, nobody got hurt. It really is a miracle that nobody got hurt. It really is. And you'll see a quote from Mr. Kudan, who formerly owned that scrapyard in here. All right. But I was literally thrown off the front of my couch and onto the floor. And I had just come over with eye surgery. And I was supposed to be resting. And this blast, I was never, you didn't have time to think about it. It cracked the entire front of my house. I have everything I can prove here. I did collect a settlement from my insurance company. Okay. Ames Goldsmith was not cooperative with my insurance agent at all. I can prove everything I'm saying. So getting off of my high horse on what happened to me. Okay. I've lived across from these people and I've watched them. And if you read the articles, you will find out that after all of this, they couldn't find out. Uh-oh. And I'm going to tell you something else as well. Let me ask you a question. What is the gas that they want to put in here? Is somebody from Ames Goldsmith here?
No, I think they do narrate actually.
Pardon me?
I do know, but they're not here.
They do narrate here what they're doing.
It's not nitric acid, is it?
Hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide.
Okay.
The application says hydrogen peroxide.
We have people that trying to call and get information on this ahead of time, and nobody knew what the gas was. Go for right from the city right up. It wasn't me; it was other people, and
They're proposing a tank, a dual tank, so it's like a double tank
right.
system, completely bollard and random, so nothing can bump into it. You know what I mean? Trucks and buses and whatever. Yep.
Hydrogen peroxide for what? What do they use that for?
I'm not calculating.
All right, we'll have to get an but they also, and you'll see in your article, and it's highlighted in an orange magic marker, that on the property right now, they have nitric acid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, anybody in the audience and anybody that is here, you can look up 1 week ago, May 6th, 2025, Columbus, Ohio. 3,000 gallons exploded of nitric acid. Did anybody see that on the news? Look it up. Did you see it? Are you aware of that? All right. We don't have 3,000 gallons, I don't believe, of nitric acid over there, but we have nitric acid. And it's a matter of time. That's all. And we might not be as lucky the next time. So you can look through everything. Plant ready for work after explosion. Firefighters unable to determine the cause. Cause of explosion determined, then you'll find that, okay? But at any rate, on my last thing, jumping to, that was in 2011, that was in March 2011, March and April, those are most of them. Your last page will be, and again, read it at your leisure, but pass it on. OSHA says ethanol was improperly used. OSHA blasts the local factory. This was October 7th, 2011. Okay, and I have highlighted, like I say, here now, yeah. On that one, where it says OSHA says ethanol wasn't properly used, headline, very down on the bottom, and I highlighted it in orange for you. It does say that they store and they utilize nitric acid there. Okay, so look into that. That's the same thing that exploded, and again, the plant in Columbus, Ohio. Go ahead, you have something to say?
Well, I appreciate your passion, and I just want you to understand what our boundaries and our scope is here.
Yeah.
We don't regulate the chemical, what they're doing on their business in that sense. That's not a zoning board issue. I mean, if they were going to change a use from a residential building and they wanted to make it a manufacturing, that would fall under our domain. But if a company was using X chemical or that chemical, that's not really a zoning board issue per se. Unless
Okay.
they were changing something that they weren't permitted to do and they were going, in that sense. I wish.
No, that's fine.
We're not necessarily like, hey, we're not paying attention. It's just not under our domain.
I'm speaking collectively,
But it's
basically.
fine. I think,
Right. And what is anybody here to tell the hydrogen peroxide? I know what a bottle of hydrogen peroxide. What is hydrogen, or what's it used for there? Do we know?
I don't know, but I know it's definitely a more significant concentration to than what you and I.
Of
know.
course. Of course. The other thing as well, FYI, back in 2019, and you're going to have information on that, 2019 now, we're jumping 11, 21, we're jumping like, what, 10 years, 11 years. 2019, again, they wanted to expand, but they were shot down. Okay, it didn't happen. All right, and the one thing that would change with that in 2019, I don't know if any of you were here or not. Were you here? Anybody on this board back then? All right. And I got up and spoke again on the explosion. But they wanted to expand and make offices and I think a 2-story building or go up higher with their buildings and that was shot down. And the thing that I spoke on, and I don't know if anybody else is from the first ward here, okay? But these trucks, these chemical tanker trucks that are driving through our neighborhood, from them have to stop. DOT has to look into that and send them out Harris Avenue or whatever and get them the heck out. I had a big tanker truck come right down at 20 after 11 this morning in front of my house from Ames Goldsmith. I have the name of the company and all of this. So I'm going to end it right there, all right? But I'm glad the fire department's looking into this, but that doesn't mean anything. It's basically time to start building up the first ward and not trying to blow it up. Okay? Thank you.
Can I ask you?
Yes, please do.
I don't remember your name, man. I'm sorry, but Linda. So Linda presented a.
Linda Plant.
She's Linda.
I'm Linda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Audrey.
Audrey had presented, kind of a sample of dust
Yes,
and debris airborne.
yes.
Are you finding a similar thing going on?
Yes, I live right next door to her.
Right,
yeah.
so you're finding that.
Of course. We've been to many common council meetings. You can watch on television as well. I almost brought the TV channels here tonight, but I'm glad I didn't. Okay, because it would have been a waste of time. But let's start building up the first ward now, okay? And thinking about the people that live there and not the 2 or 3 businesses. Either they can stay and do what they want as is, or go to China. They've got a big plant in China. I don't know how many people know that. Let them put the tank in China. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on item 1 tonight? With that, the applicant has requested that we table this item to our next meeting, so I would make a motion that we table area variance 25-0003 until next month's meeting.
I'll second.
So you'll want to come back next week.
That would be the third Sunday.
Third.
And
Okay. You guys get time, right?
Yes, same location, same.
Sorry, another question. I'm sorry. Ordering on your neighbors and all. Not everybody in the first ward got that letter. Why not?
Our local code determines who gets noticed, and I believe is it 500 feet?
I believe it's
35. I might be speaking on it.
Whichever it is in Anthony.
Yeah, so it's a geographical boundary of the request, so it isn't the entire state or the entire city. However, we do post our agendas on the website at least 10 days prior to each meeting, so it is available.
Yeah, well,
That's 3 days, excuse me.
that's unfortunate because the first ward should know what's going on here. All right? I don't care if you live 5 blocks away or 2 blocks away. All right? And that little 500 feet area that you're talking about or whatever, who lives there? A bunch of renters that come and go, and not that they should know too. All right, we talked to people that lived, what, 3 or 4 blocks away, they didn't get a letter. Why not? Okay, so who makes these rules? They're not right.
Our
The code.
dictates who gets the letter.
Right, well, the codes need to be changed. It's about time. Anyway, and
You gotta,
that's,
you gotta draw a line that creates certain rules.
I get
That's
it.
what.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
But you can feel free to reach out to all your other friends that are in that area. They can come. You just don't actually notify people outside of a radius.
Okay,
But feel free to notify
Right.
your neighbors.
Right.
Our next meeting is on July 21st, and it will also be at 6:30 p.m.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. So we move to item number 2 this evening is area variance 25-0004, Mike Carlton, representing Robert Carlton, owner of tax map number 309.12-7-21, commonly known as 47 Second Street. The applicant is seeking a variance for a front yard setback relief of 9 feet from the 15-foot minimum requirement to install an ADA accessible ramp. The applicant is also seeking an area variance relief from the maximum lot coverage threshold, 35%. So we have 2 variance requests here at Amsterdam. Right. You're the applicant. Would you like to explain your project to us?
Yes, good evening. So Robert was very sick and he was in the hospital and then he was in the rehab. So he's very weak and very sick. So when they decided to discharge him, we that's very like we don't have much time and we did not realize that we need to get a permit to put on medical ramp. So we just got friend and family do it over the weekend and to get him home the next Monday. And that's all it's about.
So it's existing. It's been installed.
Yes.
It's already.
Mhm.
Do you have the ramp picture on file or anything?
There's some photos of its construction.
Oh,
Yeah.
not the final picture?
I don't think so, actually. Well, I can't say it's final, but
Yeah, we
it
don't.
looks pretty fine. Looks pretty built.
Well built.
Well, yes, yes.
Cherry behind that. Oh, that's a big one.
Yes.
Thank you, Dad.
I also just want to note, it is built, but it will need alterations to meet the ADA. Yes. So
Yeah, that's my only question about it.
Is that a 5-foot radius?
that is the part of the alterations that will need to be made.
So you're gonna make it wider, essentially, each.
It is 4 feet
Yeah.
wide and it's very basic, more than enough for him to accept.
But you don't need it for a wheelchair, you just need it for
No.
a walker.
No wheelchair, it's accessible ramp for his walker.
My biggest problem is steps. I can't go up steps.
How long was that stretcher had to get in for an emergency?
Oh, they can instruct from the wife from this.
You know,
And I have a back
That
door.
was longer.
I have a back door also.
You
Yeah.
got another, you have a back door.
Okay. I don't use the back door at all because it's bad configuration for me. And there's a stairway going straight downstairs. I don't want to fall.
Debbie, you're saying it has to be 5 feet?
Generally speaking, you need 5 foot for a circle and for also the clearance from the door.
yes, sorry.
No, we're fine. Yes, I mean, as the planning and zoning coordinator, the building director probably could specify a little bit more, but I believe the turnaround landing has to be at least 60 inches by 60 inches
Yeah.
to meet the ADA compliant measurement, yes.
Full side,
That's
that's
the part that was.
So what about all the ramp on the neighborhood, like 3 feet wide?
I'm just gonna say this, I personally, I'm just gonna say, I personally do not have any objection to a person needing accessibility into their own dump site. Like, so, I'm personally gonna say that if it's 4 feet, it's 5 feet, what you need, it's an accessibility issue.
Get up.
Why you're gonna make it 5 feet instead of 4 feet, technically, that's why you're gonna change it, if you're changing it. But I, from a board member, do not have any issue with a person addressing their accessibility into their own home. Sorry, that's just how I see it.
Yeah, so my one issue, and I would like to talk about this, is that generally area variances run with the property. So they're a for everything. In this instance, I reached out to the Department of State Local Government, and they indicate that because this is not a permanent structure, it's not a house.
Exactly.
We as a board can put a condition on it, that it be removed when it is no longer needed. We could also put a time frame on it if we felt that was more appropriate. But I would like to
Yeah.
propose that if we were to move forward with this.
Absolutely.
Well, that's your house, Bob, right?
Yeah.
Are you leaving it to your sibling?
Yeah.
He lived there, that's his house. I think I've seen you a couple times walk by,
Oh,
hear the dog. So I did
Yeah,
not,
that's the house I,
so I mean, the Ramby well view, it's very wide and everything, I don't know what the problem. And other house in the neighborhood, tiny little ram, and it been there for like 10 years, nobody said nothing about it.
Well, that may be the case, that this is a relatively
what-
new movement in the city. We are now enforcing our codes, and that's why this board's here.
Right.
To
So
that's why you see that.
just because you're here doesn't mean we're necessarily objecting to it.
Correct.
It's just part of the process. You did something that
Part of the flaw.
you need a permit for.
Yes,
So if we're going, looking at it in hindsight, not in advance. But no one here is saying, rip it up, that's not acceptable.
yeah, he's
So
really
far.
needed, yes.
I'm kidding, her. Sorry.
I mean, I agree with Dan.
So let's just go through the questions. The area variance application you filled out has questions. In New York State, to grant an area variance, we need to do what's called a balancing test. So not all the answers need to be answered in the affirmative or in the negative, but we need to just make sure that the benefit sought by the applicant does not outweigh the community impacts. So our first question is, will the granting of the variance produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties? Now, we've established that this is not a permanent fixture, and we might, and the board may decide to put a timeframe, not timeframe, a use, once this is no longer needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we will do it here. Is the variance necessary? Whether this result could be achieved in some other method, we've established that no, this is a physical access issue, and stairs are not an option for the applicant. Explain if the request of variance is substantial, and if not, assuming that it's not substantial. So there are two here, I guess we need to discuss. The setback requirement is 15 feet. We're proposing a 6-foot setback, so it is a 9-foot request of relief. So that could be looked at as substantial. It is more than a 50% relief. But that doesn't necessarily override our decision to grant this. We need to discuss that. And although we don't look at this, the existing is 9 feet, so there's already a slight. Or is that mean? Is that proposed or existing?
Existing is 9.
Requesting 6. Okay, got it. And
So, well, I was going to ask, so I should go into that. When we're talking about the setback that's being proposed change, is that inclusive of the 5-foot versus the 4-foot, or is it as is today?
Yes, that was. Yes, top of it out.
it's as is.
Setback would be done to propose permits when being made. Yes, because concern that. But even that was, you get the setback from the steps that they're planning,
okay.
and the new proposed setback would need to be 88 compliant. Yes.
Yes. So we're looking at that. We're not looking at what's existing there. Right. Just to put it into perspective from the neighborhood.
It's a newly proposed front yard setback.
Mhm.
Your last slide.
Right. Okay. And then the second variance we're looking at tonight is for lot coverage, and that's your impervious surface on your lot. So it is required by city code the limitation of 35% and okay, and the applicant is proposing 74.1%. So that is a large request. That's a substantial request for, but again, in context, not substantial, not a substantial change to what is existing.
Right.
Is there any discussion from the? Now, before explaining the variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The only concern may be additional runoff.
That's tied to the coverage.
Mhm.
What they're the one of the same. Yeah.
But the environmental impact.
Yes, yes.
And it's should be noted.
Yep. I think given given it's a relatively small construction and it's just amplified because it's a relatively small home with a very small lot, so any little thing gets a percentage of it.
I don't know if this counts, but I always say since it's temporary, it's not really a permanent structure, like, yes, during its existence, but.
Even though that it's only adding 3% to what's in, so they're already.
Yeah, so
And so is this a self-created hardship? Yes, but that doesn't outweigh our, that doesn't alter our, that doesn't necessarily need to alter our decision.
Mhm.
So,
I just don't see another option. And that, in the end of the day, is what drives my view of it. You know, it's not like you're making this neon structure and, you know, huge roof overhang and, I mean, this is quite minimal in relation to what.
Just a rant.
What?
I say it's just a rant.
And it looks nice, it don't touch anything around it or anything, so I don't understand why they make it so difficult for us. We would like to pay for the bullet and take care of it. But they keep dragging it, you know, I have to take off work. My friend, the people that we work, they have to take off work to go have a meeting with BJ a couple of times, but it's a way up time. He not doing anything to help us. He just go with the book, you know, like think, oh, yeah, this say that. You know, the reality is the old guy needs to get in and out of town, and that's
Okay.
and that thing is beautiful. Everybody ever walked by and said, "Wait, who you built it? It's so beautiful." And it's so.
DJ is doing his job.
It's like, no, he gives us a hard time.
It's an experienced gentleman.
He,
Access to his domicile.
he did give us a very hard time. It's awful.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak tonight? Yeah, okay. If you would just speak it. Yeah.
I'm Bob's neighbor, I'm Diane Wells, I live 2 doors down from Bob. Been his neighbor for 45 years. I see that ramp every day. He needs it to get in and out of his house. You need to grant it for him. He's been, I mean, how many businesses have you owned? And taxes have you paid?
A little bit.
Little bit. He just needs it. He needs
I've
to
only
get it.
been there 77.
Yeah, he was born in that house. So I want you to grant it, please.
We'll call you new guy now.
I'm gonna call you the old guy.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here? With that, we will close public comment and any additional discussion from the commissioners.
No?
I'll make the motion.
Respect, see, I would classify this as a trade to action as necessary. Number 3, to a single. That's the therefore, no further action is required.
Based on the review of our various questions tonight, and the balancing test does not, it appears that the applicant has met our standards and the benefit to the applicant will not outweigh the community. I would like to make a motion to approve the area variance for relief from the setback as well as the area variance for release from impervious surface coverage. This.
Did you want to condition that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. With condition that the ramp be removed when it is no longer needed. And the gentleman can walk up the stairs.
That would be fun.
All in favor, say aye. Nay, or any opposed, say nay. All right. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Just follow back up the building and votes and we'll get you all your paperwork. Okay. All right, our next item tonight is use variance 25-002, Robin McFerrin, owner of tax note number 303.17-6-16, property on 49 Prospect Street. The applicant is seeking a use variance to continue using their property as a two-family home. To explain your project just a little bit?
Good evening. I bought this property as a two-family home. A little bit of research I did on this, it's been a two-family home as far as I know, and the records are for at least 20 years. My neighbor who just moved back into the neighborhood, he grew up there. I was talking with him today, and he was saying that he remembers as a kid that it was a two-family home, and he's in his 60s. So it's been two-family for a long, long time. And the thing is I need to do some work on this place, and the house is over 160 years old, and it does need roof and some repairs. And I'd like to eventually change, not the footprint, but just some of the doors and windows in the sunroom. And I found out that I have to have a permit, but in order to get a permit, I have to have the use variance, having it put on the books as a two-family instead of a single family. So, and you should have my application, there's pictures on the back of what's involved with converting it back to a single family.
And are your neighbors generally, is it a mix of single and?
There's a lot of multi-family homes on my street. I counted probably at least 16 or 17 that you can tell by stairs and cars and stuff like that. But are they all registered? I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Any-
Can I have a question about your parking? If you're gonna have a vision display, what are you providing? How is that?
The parking is already established, that there is a driveway, one, kind of like a full lane, then a partial. One goes directly into the garage, and then there's a partial one inside attached to the driveway where the tenants park.
Okay.
And I can.
So how many spaces do you have? How many parking spaces do you provide?
You have, well, there's probably two for the tenants. Like I said, I take the garage, but there's probably at least 3 spots if they wanted to park in the driveway.
And do you have, because your application does go into detail about how you're working to be investigating on what you need to do to make it code compliant. I just didn't read anything regarding hourly separation between the two.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Fire rating, so between unit A and unit B, you want to have a separation, so if there's a fire, it doesn't go into the.
It is an upstairs, downstairs
Okay,
arrangement.
right. So
So
is there a rating at the floor level there to separate the two?
a rating, I'm sorry.
Fire rating, so it's construction, it's a type of construction, you could have 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours.
I don't know.
So that would be important if you want to make it officially that way, that you're, for life safety purposes, that you're protecting both tenants
Okay,
wherever the fire would start. And, hopefully no fire ever, but if there ever is, you want to make sure that both tenants are safe. They
okay.
have a reasonable amount of safe time to exit.
So what would be involved with that?
I think you would probably just have to make sure you follow code compliance, and you'll be all set.
I'm sorry.
I think you'll just have to follow what the code says, and you'll be all set.
Okay,
Probably as a door usually.
Well, there's definitely gonna be minimum means of egress from different spaces. There's gonna be, but the construction between the two levels could require a layer or two, whatever, maybe rocking. It could be fire stopping penetrations, could be a lot of it.
Okay.
Already rang about it.
Devin Roselle, so there's not actually any work that's occurring at the current moment or being proposed. She was just gonna do like window finishings, correct? Some general repairs that require permits at the moment. Our department cannot issue permits for her because her use is not compliant. with
Right.
current. So I just want to say
So, but once, let's say we approve that,
It's apples and oranges.
everything would have to be passed through the building and codes
Then
department,
it
so
would have to
it
get
would go through
be
review.
interpreted and evaluated from a compliance standpoint.
Yes, correct.
Right,
Does that answer your question?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool. No problem.
It doesn't need it today because it's not home.
Correct.
It's needed that way because it's not identified.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's not, so, yeah.
So that's the thing, when you go down the street, it has 10 or 12 or 14
Yeah.
units that are like that, they may be functioning that way, but they may not be permanent zone set, right? So that's a lot of things that are going on in Glens Falls.
Yeah, so we can. Okay, so we're gonna go through the application. You're welcome to join the conversation. So a use variance is a little different than the area. So you need to go through every answer or every question and make sure it's covered. So the first is granting the variance is necessary in order to realize a reasonable return and lack of substantial is demonstrated by competent financial evidence set forth herein. And you provided documentation of costs that potentially bring our home back into a one-family home. And it showed that is definitely substantial. Do we have any specific questions about the evidence provided? Explain if the alleged hardship related to the property in question is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. The applicant answered there are many multiple family homes in my area. This property was purchased as an existing multi-family.
Satisfied with that.
Please explain if the requested use variance will alter the essential character of the neighborhood. If not, will it alter the character? If it will not alter the character, please explain why. The variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. This variance request is through the property owner city code. This house has functioned as a two-family home for at least 20 years. We establish it. It is an existing feature in the community. And let's see, is this a self-created hardship?
No.
Although it was purchased as a non-compliant use, it doesn't change the fact that yes, your itemized list shows that this would be a financial hardship to bring it into compliance. All right. Any other discussion from the board? Any public here tonight that wishes to comment? Okay. The CBA after review of
Seeker, with respect to seeker, I would classify this as an unlisted action. The applicant has provided the environmental assessment form part 1. The board has to answer the questions in part 2. Number 1, would proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the land? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, like a walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Proposed action regarding the character or quality of important historic archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, or fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase of the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources? No. Based upon the review of the part one and part two, the board could issue a negative seeker declaration. So you need a motion, to classify this as an unlisted action that the board has reviewed in part two, short environmental assessment form, and makes a motion for a negative declaration.
I would like to make a negative declaration, the negative declaration of the environment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The secret motion. That's- Okay, and now for the variance request. The ZBA, after reviewing the 4 proofs requested in the use variance application, has I think it's clear that applicant has proven as unnecessary hardship for the application of the 4 tests required by the state statutes. And finding such hardship, I make a motion that the ZBA grants this use variance to allow the use of the property in the manner detailed in the application.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Please. Follow up. Okay, yeah, okay. Please follow up with Devin in the close department and we'll get you squared away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
All right, our next item is area variance 25-005. Ethan Hall representing Joseph Strauss, owner of Strauss, owner of tax note number 302.16-18-3, commonly known as 25 Chester Street. The applicant is seeking an area variance for a side yard setback relief of 2 feet 10 inches from the required 10-foot minimum to construct a new garage.
Good evening. For your records, my name is Ethan Hall. I'm principal of Brzezinski Hall Architecture here tonight representing Joseph Strauss. Stephanie Roll's wife is here in the audience with me as well. The project is on Chester Street. The existing house fronts on Chester. They do have an existing detached garage, which is behind the house. The existing garage is 4 feet 3 inches. It's the one that's shaded here. That's the existing garage that is basically, you can't put a car in it. It's pretty small. And it's in pretty bad shape. The intent is to take that down and build a new garage further back on the lot and further away from the adjoining property owner than what it is. We looked at it several different ways in trying to get access to it. This is the best access to be able to get in and be able to access we have a wide overhead door. Joe also owns the house across the street. We built the sand garage at the house across the street, and it worked out so well, he wants to do it at his own house.
I'm assuming it's unconditioned
Correct.
and the upper story area is just for storage.
Just storage.
No.
Yeah, they're utilizing room and attic trusses just to be able to put some additional storage up there when there's 2 cars in the garage.
Power electric.
Power, yes. No water.
So the current garage is 5 feet 2 inches. And then this will be a little farther.
So the current garage, the front, so the garage is skewed to the property line. The front of the garage is 4 foot 3 inches away from the property line. The back is 5 foot 2.
Okay.
This one, the front of the garage is going to be 7 foot 2 and the back will be 8 feet,
Okay.
where 10 feet is required.
My only concern was about, it's a bit larger, which I totally get, to be a certain size for
2 cars.
regular, normal use, I get it. It was about the slope of the larger footprint, and sloping back. It is farther away than it is today, but it's also bigger, so I was a little concerned about the water coming back.
Yeah, so this area back here is really well drained in time. There's a big spruce tree that's coming down. There's a 28-inch spruce back there that needs to come down anyway. This portion of the lot back here is really well drained. It's all good sand back there. We did a couple of perk tests and water just runs out.
No questions to the neighbors.
I think you have a letter from one of the neighbors who's in favor of it.
So, John, W. K.
Yeah.
Let's to you, May 14th, 2025, we have no objections to area variance, AB 25-003, requested by Ethan Hall on behalf of Joseph Strauss, owner of tax map number 302.16-18-3. We have toured the protected site location for the garage, see no problem with this request of 2 feet 10 inches relief from the required 10-foot minimum. The current garage on the site is in disrepair. Mr. Strauss will no doubt build an attractive garage that should greatly improve the condition of other homes and properties in the district. Please grant this request. Sincerely, John and Deborah Mulcahy.
I don't have any questions.
So let's go through the variance application really quick. Granting of the variance produced an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties. The applicant is noted, we have to the figure as the new garage, so there is an existing garage. It's closer to the property line. And what the proposed will be. Explain the granting variance is necessary or the same result can be achieved in another method. Known or access to garage doors, vehicles and garage must be close to the property as possible. It is moved away from the line or is further away than the current garage. So we're coming more into compliance. Explaining the requested variance is substantial. And we're looking at a relief request of 2 feet 10 inches from a 10-foot setback. Probably not visually substantial. Explaining the variance will have an adverse effect or impact on physical environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The applicant says no, we're replacing a garage, so the other garage.
Yes.
And we address stormwater, any other. And explain if your need for an area variance is self-created, but maybe self-created, we have taken steps to minimize the variance request. It's less than what currently exists. Anything else for the commissioners? Do we have anybody in the public who would like to speak on this project tonight?
With respect to seeker, I would classify this as a type 2 action as granting of an area variance for equal to 2 or 3 family residents. No further action is required.
I would invite another commissioner to make a motion.
Close there.
Okay.
Yes.
Second that goes. Sorry.
Second, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Uh,
All right, any opposed? Motion carries. As you know, please go all over the second, and you will get your square away.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next.
All right. Next up is item 5, area variance 25-0006, map number, tax map number 309-14-15, commonly 75th Street. It's applicant seeking a variance for a side yard setback relief of 2 feet 9 inches from the required 5-foot minimum to install an 8 by 10 foot shed on this property. Hello.
Good evening.
Can you describe their project for us?
Yeah, so this is the existing
I think you guys maybe have this.
Yep.
So this is the existing 8x10 shed that was put on there in 2019. It's jammed full right now to the point where you can't even walk inside it. So we require more storage space. And what makes the most sense in our yard is to put another shed next to that. There's already a variance on that side of the property. And I think there might be a drawing, my drawing in there that kind of shows. So it would be next to it, but towards the rear of the property. And it just makes the most sense for our yard in terms of aesthetics and function.
Have you considered just enlarging the size of the shed that currently is there?
Well, no, because I didn't build that shed. I purchased it from Garden Time. It's an Amish made prefab shed and I was gonna do something similar. So that I'm not dealing with the construction.
You're gonna put the saddle around, same thing.
It worked out great, the
Yeah.
other one. This was when it was installed. This is what it looks like now.
And that's gonna, any water that's gonna come down, it will go right there, right?
Yeah, it's held up really well. They're the 4x4s that it sits on are intact, and once in a while there's a rabbit that kind of makes a
Yeah.
hole under there.
Honestly. Yeah, so
Any other questions?
and this is basically tied to you, I thought I read the package that you want to put a boat on the property.
There is currently a boat in my garage. We bought it,
Okay,
and hence the need for more.
yeah, more stuff for, yeah.
I reside down the street, school would change the character of name under all.
Yep.
Property owner maintains a very nice, lot, takes care of his property. It seems to, I mean,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Go through the application. Will the granting of the variance produce an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood? The applicant stated the shed will not affect the neighborhood at all. It will be in my backyard and if anything will affect my property. Smaller homes like mine, lot of storage space that we have this desire. And we heard from a neighbor that will not change the character there. I explained that if granting that variance is necessary or whether the same result could be achieved by some other method, requiring variance. Placing the new shed next to the existing shed along the side of the backyard and closer to the rear of the property is the best decision aesthetically as well from common sense use of space. And I guess the other option would be just expanding your existing shed, which would still require a variance. which you
Right.
received. So your goal is to store your just have your storage space. Explain if the request variance is substantial. You're requesting variance of 2 feet 9 inches on the side of the backyard. You already kind of received that for the first shed. Will have an adverse effect on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood district. Shed will not have an adverse effect on the neighborhood. It will not be visible from the street as it will be behind the existing shed. Is this a self-created hardship? The request for variance, the applicant states it's not a self-created hardship. It is a result of a desire to store his boat. So although it probably may be a self-created hardship, that does not impact it. It's not the sole decision maker here. So with that, I would ask, are there any members of the public here that would like to speak on this project? Okay, we did receive one email.
Email sent to the deputy clerk, it's not signed, it just says, why does he need 2 sheds instead of tent city, we have shed city. I know the quote was,
Yeah.
we received it in the mail, there was no return address and there was no name and everything, so that was all I received.
And
So,
Derek and I consulted the code and there is nothing in our city code that limits the number of sheds we have on your property. So
This is the last one.
With respect to seeker, I would classify it as a type 2 action. Again, it's the granting of an area variance for a single family or three-family residence. Therefore, no further action is required.
We may have a motion on the floor.
Done.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Please follow up with that, and then they'll get you squared away here.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right. Final item for this evening. We have area variance 25-007, Colin Fuller representing Eric and Jamie Berlowski, owners of tax map number 02.13-2-15.1, and with 72 Coolidge Ave. The applicants are seeking an area variance for a side yard setback relief of 8 feet 5 inches. We require a 10-foot minimum to construct a new garage. This is Deja.
Welcome back. Again, for your records, my name is Ethan Hall. I'm the principal of Brzezinski Hall Architecture. Colin Fuller is an employee of mine. He was not able to be here tonight. He had another commitment that I double booked him for and didn't realize it. So I'm taking the hit for this one. So we're here tonight representing Eric Berlowski and Jamie Cohn. They own the property at 72 Coolidge. There is an existing one-car garage, again, in a fair state of disrepair, very close to the property line and very tight between the garage and the existing house. The idea is to take down the existing garage, build a new garage. We're going to align it basically with the garage on the property to the east and have it be 1'7" from the property line, where the current one is 1 foot 1.5 inches. So we're moving it over a little bit. This one's a little bit unique in that the single driveway that comes in, we moved it back to keep the back of the garage where we needed it. And in order to make that swing to get into the drive, to get into the overhead door, we kind of needed to keep it where it was. So we couldn't really push this one farther into the lot to do that.
You can't push it further in because why?
In order to make the swing to push it farther to the west.
I'm thinking you could, but you'd have to pull it further back also.
We'd have to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, again, this is my only concern about this, is that you're pretty darn close to your neighbor.
On that one, we actually have to fire rate that side. It has to be a non-combustible because it's within 5 feet of the property line. So we have to fire rate that whole side of the building. It has to be a non-combustible siding.
But I'm okay, I get it. More concerned with the water.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like right on top of it.
And yeah, and it's there now for the most part. I mean, it's a little bit farther ahead than that.
It's like less than half the size of what you're.
We can look at putting a gutter along.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Gutter
If
and
you
get down.
could gutter it and lead it back in,
Yeah.
to me, that would alleviate.
Yeah, without a problem. As far as snow coming off from it, it's an 8-12 pitch with asphalt shingles. The odds of snow falling off in that roof are pretty slim. We can put a snow guard on there, some stop the teeth on there to prevent it from doing that as well. If it had a slide on the end of it, I'd be more concerned, but with an 8-12, odds are pretty small that it's going to slide off.
We can do party plank.
We're going to wind up having to use hardy in order to make it a non-combustible edge. And all of the blocking on that side has to be fire treated. The first row of sheathing on the roof has to be fire treated, plywood. Yeah.
Again, just storage on that portion,
Yes.
similar.
Yep. And this one actually has a little bit shallower roof than the other. There is a stair going up there, but the headroom is going to be so small that it's really just storage.
And I thought we got a letter from 70.
I have 2 letters to read into the record if you want to read them now. Here about with regard to the new garage plans, my neighbors, Eric and Jamie Berlowski home.
Yes.
I have no objection to the variance they are seeking and wish them well with their projects. Sincerely, Laura, Sharon, and Tool. And then there was another letter received on June 9th. My wife Tricia and I reside at 88 Coolidge Avenue, Glens Falls. Please be advised we are in favor of granting the area variance. The applicants relating to 72 Coolidge Avenue, Glens Falls. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Michael J. Toomey.
To me, the first letter is much more important. It's literally the neighbor that I'm talking about being concerned with. 5 doors down, that's nice that you all get along, but not effective.
Yeah,
Was there a, official survey on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
yep, yep. Oh, we didn't know. Yes.
This application again, will the granting of the variance produce an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the properties? The applicant is granting this variance will not produce any undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or neighboring properties. The new garage is to be set to the back of the property and will not be easily visible from the road. Explain if the granting of the variance is necessary. Any comments? Okay, explain the variance is necessary or whether the same result can be achieved through some other method, not requiring variance. It's necessary. We already have a garage door. Is the request substantial? The variance not substantial since the existing garage currently sits closer to the property line as it is. The new garage will maintain the same line as the side yard further to the rear of the property. It's quite substantial, however, given the existing.
Without
garage.
Where 10 feet is required and 1'7" is provided, that's a substantial variance.
Will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood? No. Limited change in site coverage and permeability will occur, and this is a celebrated hardship. Yes, but again, not a deciding factor in our review. Anything else from the commissioner? Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak this evening? No? Okay. Great. So with that,
With respect to seeker, I would classify it as a 22 action because again, it's granting of an area variance for a single family or three-family residence. Therefore, no further action is required.
You wanted that in there, right?
You got it.
I would like to have a request for the gutter either to be drained back to the interior of the property. That's really all I'm concerned with.
No problem. We can take care of that.
so based on this board's review of the balancing test, it seems that the benefit to the applicant will not outweigh the impact to the community. So I would like to make a motion to approve this variance request with the condition that the structure be supplied with gutters to address this.
Gutter to address drainage to the interior of the property.
Yes. Gutter leader to bring it back. Yeah.
And I don't think we have to talk about the fire rating and
No, he's already.
because that's, you're aware of that.
Yeah, it's a code compliance issue. That's a building code issue.
Okay. All right. So I would make that motion.
I'll start.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Great.
Thank you very much. You got it, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get in touch with them and get this moving. Thanks again.
And so our last area variance is the area variance 25-008. Jason and Lori Culver, house owners of 309.7-8-14, county limits 82 Sherman County. This was an area variance for a fence, an extension of a pre-existing fence. The applicant has requested to withdraw this application at this time. So we may see it again in the future, but not this evening. Great. Good. So I will.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.